Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer, Focused Learners. Today, we're tackling a massive question. Why do we do what we do? Whether you're managing a remote tech team in North America, teaching students over in Australia, or honestly, just trying to figure out your own career path, you've probably noticed a modern crisis of engagement. People are burning out, they're tuning out, or they're just feeling completely lost. So to solve this, we're looking back to a foundational psychological theory that has literally revolutionized modern workplaces and classrooms. Today, we are breaking down Abraham Maslow's theory of motivation. First proposed way back in 1943, Abraham Maslow's iconic pyramid completely flipped the script on how we understand human motivation and mental stability. Because before this, a lot of management and educational theories looked at people in a highly mechanical way. They were basically asking, how do we get this human machine to work faster? Well, Maslow looked at this and realized we were entirely missing the point of psychological well-being. So he outlined 5 distinct levels of fundamental human needs, basically arguing that there's a natural progression to what actually drives us. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to understand the big umbrella it sits under, which is humanistic theory. And guys, this is the crucial shift. It moves us away from seeing people as mere cogs in a productivity machine, and instead views them as complex humans with layered needs. The core premise here is that you simply cannot progress toward your full potential, your ultimate personal development, until your fundamental survival and social requirements are securely met first. It's pretty simple. You just can't reach the summit if you haven't set up base camp. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover survival and security needs. Second, belonging and esteem needs. Third, reaching full potential. And finally, we'll wrap up with a modern reality check. Let's get started. Part 1. Survival and security needs, the foundation of focus.
Think of this kind of like constructing a building. You would never try to inspect the roof before you've actually poured the concrete foundation, right? Well, the exact same goes for human beings. In Maslow's original 1943 paper, physiological and safety needs meant basic food, shelter, physical safety, and maybe a health insurance policy. But let's look at how this translates to our modern digital workplace. Today, foundational needs include having the right digital tools, a reliable internet connection, and a decent ergonomic setup to work comfortably from home. Safety now encompasses robust cybersecurity to protect employee data, and critically, this is a big one, psychological safety. Employees need to know they can actually speak up, make mistakes, and express concerns on a Zoom call without any fear of retaliation. Because if an employee is terrified of losing their job or getting hacked, they simply cannot focus on high-level innovation. The modern equivalent of physical shelter is digital and emotional security.
And the trauma-informed education happening right now in Australia brilliantly illustrates exactly how these foundational needs apply outside the corporate office. Researchers Brenzel and Norish point out that a child must first meet their physical needs for safety and regulation within their own body before they can attend to emotional needs, let alone the cognitive needs required for learning math or science. If a student's basic physiological and safety needs aren't met, disruptive behavior isn't defense, guys, it's a distress signal. You simply cannot teach a child who feels unsafe. The concrete just has to be poured first. Moving on to part 2, belonging and esteem needs, social connections and respect. So once that concrete is set and survival is secured, we instinctively look around. We crave community, friendship, and recognition. We really want to know that we matter to the group. Let's look at a prime example of this in action, Google. Google is famous for treating its workforce as its most valuable resource, and they heavily utilize these middle tiers of Maslow's hierarchy. They start by supercharging physiological needs. We're talking 3 free meals a day, high-quality coffee, cozy break rooms. But this isn't just about feeding people. It's a highly calculated strategy to foster belonging. By creating communal spaces, hosting team-building retreats, and deliberately eliminating barriers between departments, Google builds fierce team camaraderie. People just thrive when they feel like they're part of a close-knit group. Right above that sense of belonging is esteem. Now, esteem isn't just a generic pat on the back. It's about achieving deep respect, recognition, and true confidence. In a digital or hybrid environment, esteem means trusting your remote workers with autonomy rather than micromanaging their every move. It means providing visible recognition platforms, peer feedback, and serious career development programs. When an organization actually respects a worker's insights and trusts them to deliver, it massively bolsters their feeling of accomplishment and cements their loyalty to the company's overarching mission. Now for part 3, reaching full potential, self-actualization, and beyond. At the very peak of the pyramid is self-actualization. This is the desire to become the absolute best version of yourself, seeking out purpose-driven work and ultimate personal growth. And what's fascinating is how this manifests in modern institutions today. Take Swiss International University as an example. When adult learners enroll there, they aren't just looking for a piece of paper to fulfill some basic safety need for a job. No, at the peak of this pyramid, they're actively seeking global exposure, critical thinking, innovation, and a total transformation of their personal identity. Organizations that tap into this level give their people the space for creative problem solving and deliberately align daily tasks with long-term meaningful goals. But here is a fascinating twist that is honestly missing from almost every textbook out there. Later in his life, Maslow actually realized the pyramid was incomplete. He added a sixth tier, self-transcendence. He recognized that ultimate motivation actually requires looking beyond yourself. It's a major departure from individualism toward a global purpose, ethical responsibility, and selfless service. It's no longer just about how great can I become, but rather, how can I serve a greater cause? And ignoring this sixth tier can be absolutely catastrophic. Just consider the massive $185 million initial regulatory fine levied against Wells Fargo. Their corporate culture became hyper-fixated on financial incentives in a really toxic, win-at-all-costs version of self-actualization. Leaders were encouraged to reach top targets regardless of the methods they used. Because they completely lacked that crucial component of self-transcendence, employees fraudulently opened millions of fake accounts. It's a very stark reminder of exactly what happens when a culture prioritizes individual gain and material success over ethical responsibility and service to others. Let's wrap things up with part 4, the modern reality check, critiques, and data. So we've got the theory, but how does it actually hold up against hard data today? Well, check out this fascinating 2025 study that analyzed 48 different businesses. Researchers wanted to see if focusing on higher-level customer and employee needs actually led to better business success. The results were completely counterintuitive. They found a negative correlation. Businesses that focused heavily on lofty, higher-level needs like self-actualization actually saw lower short-term net profit margins and lower employee engagement. Meanwhile, companies that ruthlessly focused on the basics, physiological, and safety needs achieved significantly higher profits and engagement. The big takeaway here? You absolutely cannot skip the basics. An inspirational mission statement won't save you if your employees are overworked and underpaid, or if your customers' core expectations just aren't being met. And that leads us perfectly into the broader critiques of Maslow's work. Modern psychology tells us that human behavior isn't a perfect, rigid staircase, right? An insecure employee can totally still have a flash of brilliant self-actualized creativity. A struggling student can still feel a deep sense of belonging despite a really tough environment at home. Furthermore, the theory was designed from a highly individualistic Western perspective. In many collectivist cultures, community and belonging actually take precedence over individual self-actualization. So it's best to view this as a flexible framework, not some immutable law of physics. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for today. Whether you're leading a massive corporation in Europe, managing a remote team in North America, or teaching a classroom in Australia, Maslow's theory really forces you to ask better, more human-centered questions. Before demanding peak performance, you have to look at the foundation. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. If your team or your students are struggling to reach their full potential right now, which of their foundational needs have you overlooked? Thanks for joining me on this Explainer Focused Learners. Keep building that foundation, and I'll catch you next time.